with Chris Hocknell, who's a Director of Sustainability Consultancy at 8 Versa. He joins me on the line from London. Welcome to you, Chris.
Hello.
In terms of the decision that's just been made, I mean, the argument made by Shell was that there wasn't any scientific, evidence to back up that number of reducing emissions by 45%, and the court agreed with that. So, I mean, it's fair enough, isn't it? Does that suggest there was some kind of overreaching in the first court case?
I think we need to draw a distinction between what we would like to happen and what probably should happen, and all of the points of law. I'm not an environmental lawyer or a legal specialist, but I am a sustainability advocate and someone who tries to solve problems around sustainability and works with organisations to do so. So in that, I, broadly speaking, accept the ruling, that the latest ruling, which is that it's unreasonable and it's illogical and unworkable, regardless of whether we think it would be a good thing. I mean, all of the science-based targets reduction pathways, which is really the reduction pathway companies need to go on and organisations and countries need to go on, all suggest a halving of emissions, so 45–50% by, say, around 2030. So where we want to go is that whether you can make or should make or have the legal infrastructure to impose on organisations to do that is a different matter, and I think a legal matter, and which was ruled on today, which is the answer is no.
Yeah, so I mean, you've said your targets there. By 2030, you want, what, a 50% reduction. And Shell, becoming a bit more conservative, they were aiming for, I think, originally a 20% reduction by 2030. Now they've revised that down slightly. It's 15 to 20%. Clearly, they still see there's money to be made in fossil fuels. Is that a disappointing target for you, that you hear that they're aiming only for 15 to 20% reduction?
I mean, yes, in the broad environmental sense, but I'm not really surprised. I think there's a lot of confusion, and I think a lot of borderline not being fair and square with the reality of what is required for decarbonisation and carbon emissions. The reality is that decarbonisation is very, very hard, very expensive. And, in the environmental circles, lots of people like to tell themselves that it's all easy, we just got technologies, we just need to walk forward, but it's actually not true at all. And the reality is that we're all absolutely dripping in oil. It's absolutely ubiquitous. It's 80% of primary energy. It goes into all of our fertilizers. It is the basis of the food system, our food production system. It's all of the chemicals we use. Touch petroleum in one way, shape or form. All the physical things in your studio and my study right now all come from oil. So it is everywhere, and we are all complicit in this. So I think this kind of this paradigm and argument we fall into, it's not helpful, and what we need is solutions and technologies and huge investment programs to break through and to make the solutions better solutions that are more cost effective. That's what we need at the heart of it.
Friends of the Earth claim that Shell produces 3% of global greenhouse emissions. That's more than most countries produce. So you can understand why this environmental group went after Shell. They're a big fish, so to speak. Yeah. Last year, this is interesting, last year Shell spent almost 3 times as much investment on its oil and gas businesses as it did on low carbon energy. So the point I'm getting to here is that it's kind of in line with what you said. This is a very slow turning oil tanker, isn't it? And it's not really turning at the speed, I imagine, that most environmentalists would like, when it's still putting 3 times as much Shell into its fossil fuel industries.
Yeah, and I don't dispute any of those figures. But I think what they do know is what a lot of environmentalists don't know, is that fossil fuels are with us no matter what for the next few decades. We will not be able to remove them. The fastest and most effective way to remove them is through a combination of regulatory instruments and enormous kind of World War scale level of financing, R&D and investment models to break through technologies and to commercialize better low impact technologies. So ultimately the money goes where it's going to seek and achieve the largest return. And I don't think Shell are wrong. If we look at a lot of the developing countries, and we had a bit of scandal at COP, haven't we already, around their potential or certain people's potential preferences. The reality is, for for a lot of the world, fossil fuels are here for decades, and India are going to double their coal consumption to alleviate and bring hundreds of millions of people out of poverty. It's very difficult to say to these countries, no, you can't do that. So we're in a bind, and we're telling ourselves kind of fictions and comforting stories, but the reality is, unless we find better solutions, we are stuck in this place. So we need some rapid mobilization for better solutions, and stop telling ourselves that we can all just solve this if we just had found the willpower.
I think that's a really honest assessment. Appreciate that as well. My guest is Chris Hocknell, Director of Sustainability Consultancy at 8Versa. Thank you.
Thank you.